Let me tell you a story. This is a story of a man named David. David had always been in control of his life. He had a stable job, a loving family, a clear plan for his future. He liked order. He liked certainty. He always strived on having everything in place, everything detailed out for him. But one afternoon, as he was wrapping up his task at work, something unexpected happened to him. His boss called him over to his office and then announced that there was going to be sudden layoff due to financial crisis, and he was one of them. David went back to his office, so sad as he sat at his desk, stunned, shocked, feeling as though the whole world has come to crash upon his head. His life then began to unravel in ways that he never anticipated. He had bills to pay, school fees, feeding, a family, other responsibilities. And all these things were manageable when he had something coming in every month. And now bills started to pile up for him. And the stress of providing for his family now began to weigh on him so heavily that he began to have sleepless nights, and sleepless night became a routine for him. Family and friends saw that he was growing sad and began to offer him words of comfort. But deep within him, David felt so overwhelmed and terrified. Who wouldn't be? The future that was once clear for him, that had an exciting front for him, was now filled with so much obstacle, so much uncertainty, and he began to worry. In the midst of his turmoil, David remembered something that his father used to tell him. His father said, "David, faith isn't about seeing where we are going. It's about believing that God will guide you there." As a child, he never really understood what the weight of these words meant. But now, going through one of the biggest trials in his life, he found himself holding on to that memory. So one evening, feeling completely lost, he dropped to his knees and prayed to God. It wasn't really a fancy prayer. It was just a raw, desperate prayer full of questions. He said to God, "God, why is this happening to me? How do I move on? Please give me the strength to keep going." And then he stood up and went about his activities. Day by day, David now decided to take things one at a time, doing it little by little and starting small. He chose to believe in God. He chose to trust in God, even though he had no idea what his front held or what his future held. He began each day by studying the Holy Word. Each morning, he will read a verse about strength and perseverance. He will meditate upon the promise of God. One of the verses he read was Isaiah chapter 41 verse 10, which says, "Fear not, for I am with you. Be not dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you. I will help you. I will uphold you with my righteous hand." Slowly, the fear that gripped his heart began to loosen its hold, replaced by a small growing sense of peace. As David continued in his faith, something remarkable began to happen to him. He found himself leaning onto his strengths in new ways he never ever expected. He now started to apply for jobs. And while he was applying for jobs, he discovered freelancing, remote work. He then discovered that he had talents he had never ever utilized. He could write. He could do copywriting. So he decided to use that talent and began freelancing, offering his skills in ways that he never knew could help him pay his bills. And so that gave him a sense of purpose. He now learned to be flexible, to start finding small joys and victories, and learn to appreciate the little things that matter to him, which are his family, his health, and the faith that kept him grounded in God. Though his new path is not easy, David came to understand that the uncertainty that he feared and pushed away was what helped him to grow, and also to trust God more deeply and to see life through the lens of gratitude. He still didn't have all the answers, but he had gained something far greater. And what was that? The faith and a heart full of hope and gratitude. So I tell you, my brethren and sisters, we all face seasons of uncertainty. Sometimes life feels like a storm that won't let up. The wind of change and the downpour of worry can feel suffocating, and it's natural to question it. It's natural. It's natural to say, why is this happening to me? Or how will I ever go through this? But here is the truth, my brother and sister. Uncertainty is part of life. We may never have full control of the twists and turns of our journey, but we can find the strength in one who walks with us daily and forever. Think about the times when life was uncertain for you. Maybe it's a health crisis, a financial setback, or a dream that you once cherished which is out of reach. But it's during these times that we are often forced to choose. Are we going to let fear paralyze us? Or are we going to lean into faith, even if we can't see the way forward? The Holy Book talks about stories of people who found faith and trust in God, just like David. Let's look at Joseph, who was sold into slavery by his own brother and faced years of injustice, then became a leader and saved countless lives. Or think about Moses, who led an entire nation through the wilderness with only God's promises to hold on to. Of this story, the key wasn't that they had everything figured out. It was that they trusted in God to be their guide and their provider. They had absolute faith and trust. And this can be the same with us if we stay true to God. Whenever we feel like our plans are falling apart, God is inviting you to trust Him today. In Psalm 46 verse 1, we are reminded, God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. This verse doesn't promise that we won't face trouble. It promises us that we won't face it alone. Even when our circumstances seem so difficult, God is working behind the scene, preparing us for something greater than we can ever imagine. So I'm telling you today, if you are feeling lost or anxious or troubled, take heart. Pause for a moment and take a deep breath. Offer your worries to God and ask Him the strength to carry on. Remember that faith does not mean the absence of fear. It means choosing to trust God even when the path isn't clear. You don't have to figure out everything on your own. God's grace is sufficient. His power is made to perfect our weakness. His plans for us are filled with hope and a future. Hold on to that hope. Hold on to that hope, my brothers and sisters, and let God's love and promise be your anchor. In terms of uncertainty, you are not abandoned. You are held in the loving hands of our sovereign God. Keep believing, keep trusting. Know that the journey you go through, no matter how difficult, will shape you into something stronger and more faithful than you can imagine. Stay blessed.